Look, maybe you are trapped in a world you never made, but I got problems of my own. You know, my whole career is falling apart.
Your career? What about my life? I'm stranded here, shipwrecked.
Look at this wonderful exhibit.
You see what I mean? I'm a freak, an outcast.
It's so lifelike and realistic.
Bug off.
Excuse me?
I said beat it. Mutants.
Hi, welcome to the Bench Movie Club. I'm Charlie.
My name's Ben.
And in this episode, we're talking about the 1986 film, divisive film, Howard the Duck. And I say that because I know we usually say at the end, but what's the IMDb rating on it?
Well, I know. I think it's the lowest one yet. Right. The IMDb was the critics 13%.
Oh, that's on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
13%.
And 38% by the audience is the Rotten Tomatoes. The IMDb is 4.7. So not good.
That's terrible. And I watched it the other day, and bearing that in mind, I thought, I know how much people don't like this film. And I thought, you know what, maybe it was just, I liked it because I was a child. I'll now see it, it's been dated.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I
just thought, this is a brilliant film. And, we'll go into it a bit more, like the history of it. But I know that George Lucas tried this campaign where they didn't show you what Howard looked like. That's why the posters always had him hidden. You have his beak coming through an egg or behind a thing, because they just, all they knew is they spent like millions on this costume, this animatronic costume. So the hype behind it, because all they had was the comic books, how what looks like Donald Duck. And they thought, what's it going to look like? I bet it's going to look amazing. So then when they showed it, they hyped it up too much.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this again the other day, and I was expecting the same thing. I was thinking, but it was. I think maybe a lot of it is nostalgia, because it reminds me of when I remember watching it when I was younger. I always loved it when I was younger. I think it's a good story. I think it's okay. It's typical cheesy 80s. It's got them one-liners like, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. All that little things like. But it's 80s.
Yeah.
It is an 80s kind of. That's just what it is, and you got to accept it for that. Yeah. It is fine. I mean, I don't know why it got such a blast in, and also it came out, I think, on like the 12th of December. So you'd think it would have got all like the Christmas lot and all that. But it was just, I don't remember when I was younger that this was a bad film. I thought it was up there. It's only in later years that I've heard that this was such a flop.
Yeah, because it was a huge budget. Maybe I think it's what had come before it. Obviously, George Lucas had made the Star Wars films. Right. Then he's made the Indiana Jones films. Or he's made like Raiders, and I think Temple of Doom had just come out. So basically, everything George Lucas touched at that point was amazing. It was like top. And I thought, what's he going to do next? Oh, he's doing this comic book character, Howard the Duck. Wow. Okay, we'll see what else. Even though he only had, like, he was only producing it. He was only putting like a few bits together. He weren't that involved.
Yeah, but I think it's unfairly put down, this film. I don't think it deserves the bashing that it gets.
No, definitely.
I mean, after rewatching it the other day, I'll tell you what I did notice the other day that I never noticed, I think, when we see it when we was younger. Because I don't think I've seen this film for at least 20, maybe 30 years.
Yeah.
But I remember it fresh in my brain, because I think we did watch it quite a lot back home when we was all younger. But I did notice, because the quality is a lot better now, is I didn't realise exactly how you could see, like the big monster at the end. Yeah. That you can see it's superimposed onto another screen kind of thing.
Oh, whereas I could see what you was going to say then. I thought you was going to say, I didn't realise how raunchy it was with the duck boobs, or I didn't realise.
Oh no, I remember
how
that. It's a bit of a weird relationship between her and the duck. It is a bit questionable, but
that's why it was in the comics as well.
I don't. It never really sort of explains that. But that bit, the sort of CGI at the very end, is quite bad. But we didn't notice it when the quality was less. It's only since the quality is so high that you can sort of see it's quite badly done. But as I say, if I was watching it on old VHS, you wouldn't have noticed it.
But only badly done by today's standards. But at the time, that was really good.
Yeah.
You try and think of another film at that time or earlier which had such good special effects.
I remember liking it at the time. I remember I didn't ever pull it apart at all at the time. We all liked it as a family, didn't we, years ago? I don't think any of us disliked it. It was just part of our... I think that's where a lot of it comes from, is the nostalgia for this film, because it reminds me of, like, when we was all young in Booker Close.
Yeah. So written and directed by Willard Huyck, who also made Messiah of Evil, which got a 6.4 out of stars, which was his best work. Then French Postcards 5.8 and Best Defence 3.8, which is another notoriously bad film. Best Defence, you heard of that? It's Dudley Moore and Eddie Murphy. So this is like early Eddie Murphy stuff, and everyone, I think it might have been after Trading Places, so everyone thought it's going to be huge. It's around about that time, and it's just 3.8 stars out of 10 on IMDb.
Really?
That's how, and this is the same guy who's made Howard the Duck, so I don't think he's made anything since Howard the Duck.
Well, you'd give up, wouldn't you? You'd feel like I'm
they don't
against the brick
Well, this
wall.
is it. He probably looked at it and thought, I thought it was all right, but they all hate it. I didn't think it was that bad a job. You know,
But do you remember when we was young that everyone else hating it?
No.
I think everyone liked it.
Yeah.
I thought that.
Yeah.
I never heard no one slagging it at all. I always thought it was a success.
No, to me, I hold it up there with the other 80s ones that we used to watch. We'd watch like Gremlins, Goonies, Back to the Future, Howard the Duck. It was on the same path for me.
Yeah, it was never like a cheap budget film.
No, it wasn't highbrow cinema. It weren't like all serious sort of artistic black and white and French, but it was enjoyable 80s fun. Like Back to the Future is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, Goonies is amazing. I think they're all brilliant. They're all great films at that time, that 80s era. And I thought, yeah, this hits all the right buttons. This is up there with them. It's only years later, and I thought, why is everyone sneering at it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Howard the Duck.
Has
No
it
one
got
I
better
know-
as the years have gone on? Is people liking it more now for nostalgia? Or is it just a cult classic that just a group of people like it?
Well, I know there is. It has now got a cult following,
Right.
You know, so it's got a cult following, like how say Rocky Horror would have a cult following, because some people would watch Rocky Horror and go, "Oh, what's this?" and slag it. It's not for them. But I think that's undeserved. It should be, for me, it should be held as high as all those other ones I mentioned. But it has got like there's a famous movie critic, Mark Kermode, on BBC. Probably the most high profile one. He loves Howard the Duck.
Oh, he does?
He does. And when he interviewed Tim Robbins, he asked him about Howard the Duck, and he said, like, Tim Robbins was like, oh yeah, sorry about that sort of thing. He was like, no. He says it's a brilliant film. He said, I don't understand what everyone else has seen. Everyone else has seen it. It's just as good as all those other 80s fairs. It's got great actors in it.
I love the songs in it, actually. You know, I like all the songs that she sings in the band. I think they're quite like
Cherry Bomb.
Yeah.
And she sang that as well.
She did sing that. I know she took guitar lessons.
Yeah.
For the film to make it look realistic, because it's really good.
Now, I mean this in the utmost respect, but it reminded me a lot of like something that Prince would have done. That the sound of it and the guitars and that sort of like, he used to like girl groups. He had a few girl groups like Apollonia 6. George would go, no, it's not called that. It's called this. Oh, what prick. No, and they was the sort of sound, the Cherry Bomb group with her singing and everything.
Yeah, and all the songs. I think all of them songs that she sings, she does a couple of slow, she does the fast. They're all good songs.
Yeah, I think they are.
I liked them.
And I've listened. I walked here today, and I listened to the album on Spotify. They've got the whole album, which I think the first half is basically that group, the Cherry Bomb group.
Oh, the songs are on there.
The songs are on there.
Oh, okay.
And then the second half of the album is all the John Barry score.
Right.
Which I love. I love the score in it. Again, listen to it on the way here. I listened to every single tune, and I straight away knew which part of the film it was. It would have like the sort of jazz music at the beginning, when it's on Duckworld, sort of really laid back, sort of like saxophone. Then you got like the anthem when the Howard the Duck's anthem, where he sort of gets chucked into the sign at the beginning.
Yes.
And I think it's as good as sort of like the Superman anthem, but it's just obviously people don't think of it. Right now it's playing.
Oh, you love that theme tune.
No, not that one. And then there's like various ones. There's the.
Is it the one at the very end you like?
No. What it is it keeps coming back, but yeah, it's at the very end. But there's like the impending doom when they're fighting against the
Dark
Overlord, which is really creepy music. It's brilliant. But yeah, the track that stands out to me is "You're the Duckiest," which is the one that plays when it's just him and her alone, and they're sort of like flirting and stuff like that. But it's also played again at the end when they come off stage, and she sort of goes, "You're the greatest," or something like that, and you hear that lovely little tune playing.
I think with that regards with their flirty stuff, I think she should have basically made it a lot more obvious that she's messing with him.
In the comics, they are a couple.
Oh, that's just weird.
It's weird, but it's because people are taking it too serious. The thing is,
Well, I suppose this day and age, I mean, it's like people can be anything they want. So I suppose it's, well, if they want to be in a relationship, they could be in a relationship. I suppose people ain't going to complain about it.
I think another thing which done this harm was because people automatically assumed the group it was for, it was like young kids, which us young kids, yeah, it's fine. Our parents would be like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But other young kids' parents, like especially American ones, looked at it and went, this is disgusting. You know, look, why has he got a little duck condom in his wallet? You know, they pick up on all these things. It wasn't a subtle humour. It was very obvious, like all the puns and like them flirting.
Yeah.
You know, and all this stuff really sort of annoyed loads of parents because how are you marketing this to kids?
Yeah, it's sort of almost a kids' film, but then there is little touches of stuff that you go, that's not really for kids' eyes, but we didn't notice that.
No, but this is the thing. At the time, in the 80s, there was loads of films like that. So, like with Goonies, there's loads of swearing and there's death and there's all this other stuff.
The willy falls off the statue and they stick it upside down.
Yeah, and Gremlins as well. Look at all the people dying. Gremlins and the attack is quite, you know. But at the time, we'd watch these.
I think we was a lot hardened to stuff, really. I don't think we were so sensitive about looking for things to be offended by, like a lot of things nowadays.
Chip Zien was done Howard's voice.
He was played by, is it
Ed Gale. Well, Ed Gale was one of like 8. They had like 8.
Oh, it wasn't just one person.
No, but he done it the most. That's why he done it so much that they put his name on the credits, so it pops up at the beginning. Robin Williams was going to be the voice of Howard the Duck.
Yes,
but because of
I can see that.
But because of his improvisation, like he never does the same take twice. So like when he done the Aladdin, he done the genie. They said they've got like about 100 hours worth of Robin Williams doing different takes. Every time he'd say a different joke, and they literally just picked what they thought was the best. They've got to go with the work, especially if they've got, like, for example, animation or like animatronics, is it called? Yeah.
So that basically it's got to go with the sounding of the words, you know, like, so it's got to, like, the mouth has got to move at the same time, so you can't do a different take each time. You've got to do it the same sort of way. Yeah, well, that's it. And also because on set they just got the Ed Gale just to say the words as he's in the side of the thing, go, what are you talking about, Beverly? Blah, blah, blah. Just saying it, so then afterwards they could dub it. So then they'd get Chip Zien in, so he'd have to say it at the exact same time that the main guy said it. Right. Robin Williams, obviously, was like, he got frustrated, he said, I can't do this because I want to go, well, look at your pants, make some sort of joke, you know? He gets right into it, doesn't he? Yeah. But he was also the little puppet in Child's Play. Is it Ed Gale? No. Yeah? He was little Chucky at Child's Play. Yeah. Oh, but he recently got done for like underage pornography or something like that. Have you researched this? Because otherwise I thought you would have written this. No, I haven't. I didn't look into that bit. But the thing is, unless you're going to say it, I can't put that in there unless I know it's factual. Hang on. Right, so the Chucky actor Ed Gale, 59, is under investigation after being caught on camera admitting he wanted oral, hand and possibly anal sex with 14-year-old boy who was really part of creep catcher sting operation. Oh, God. Yeah. And also, there's another one in this film as well, isn't there? Yeah, Jeffrey Jones. Jeffrey Jones, who was he convicted or was he just... Yeah, Jeffrey Jones, who was at the time obviously been in Amadeus, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Beetlejuice, Edward. He was big. He was big, and also I think out of all his, I've seen him, you know, loads of them films we watched a lot, but whenever I always think of this as him as an actor is his best performance, because when he's doing that Dark Overlord, because he actually comes across as quite a nice person before that, when he's like, he's not one of these atypical 80s scientists going, we've got to experiment. He's got makeup for when he's the Dark Overlord, when he's turning into him. Yeah, and with his hair getting thinner. Like the cheekbones come out and the face all like hollows a bit and the spine. His hair goes, his spine's coming through. So with Jeffrey Jones, though, that he was, I think it was child pornography, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Because his career disappeared. Because he would have been in loads more stuff. People still hire him, but obviously nothing high profile. Just desperate people who just sort of, they don't care what stigmas attached to people. But yeah, Lea Thompson, who was in Back to the Future films, Caroline in the City, Some Kind of Wonderful. She actually owns the Les Paul guitar that she was playing in the film. Oh, does she? Yeah. I thought she was good in it, Lea Thompson. I think she was very good. But she's fantastic, as I say. She's always going to be known as Lorraine Baines from Back to the Future. Yeah. She's fantastic in that.
This is also one of Tim Robbins' first or earlier roles. He'd done Shore Thing before this, and Top Gun, but they were smaller parts. This was like a bigger part for him because he's in it quite a lot, isn't he?
Yeah, but you know what? I didn't know it was Tim Robbins till I watched it again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'd sort of forgotten it was him.
Yeah.
You know, like it's only when I look at it, of course it's Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
But then his career went so big. Like Shawshank Redemption was the one that I think made him proper, like A-lister.
It was that, The Player, Jacob's Ladder.
I've never seen that. I've heard of Jacob's Ladder.
It's a freaky film. George Lucas had just built Skywalker Ranch for $50 million, and he was counting on this film. His friend, Steve Jobs, to help him because of the loss on Howard the Duck, was buying Lucasfilm's newly formed CGI department, and that's what turned into Pixar.
Yeah. Oh, right, yes. And apparently if this film had been a success,
then
Pixar might not have... I did remember picking it up. Oh, yeah, the budget for this film was between 30 and 37 million, and it only made 38 million.
Yeah.
It was really poor, and I just don't get it. I don't get why. Because also, especially in the 80s, I would have thought everyone would have loved this. And as far as I remember, everyone did love it.
Well, what they'd done as well, I think it was the year earlier or the year before that, you had Ghostbusters, which was huge. And one of the people who produced that or greenlit that, who was responsible for that, because Ghostbusters was nearly lost to the curb, but this guy saved it. It was a guy called Frank Price. And he had a big successful career. All these other films he was doing was all like high profile. And they got him to come over for Howard the Duck. And he basically used the similar formula. He thought, right, we'll just follow Ghostbusters formula. You know, you have more special effects than a normal film, which he does. Ghostbusters had loads of special effects because it's a comedy with loads of special effects. You have nerdy people as the heroes. Mm-hmm. So like Ghostbusters, you have Egon in this, you have Tim Robbins' character. You have interdimensional portals, things where creatures coming in at the big portals. The big build-up at the end with the big villain coming out.
It's very similar.
Yeah, you get a good character getting possessed in both films. Yeah. Because obviously Sigourney Weaver and Mick Moranis in that, and Jeffrey Jones is a good character in this, gets possessed.
Well, he helps to get rid of it in the end, doesn't he?
Yeah, and like I said, the interdimensional climax as well. So it's loads of these. He went, look, we'll follow this formula, and that's pretty much what the film does.
I just really don't get why it was such a flop.
Yeah.
I really don't get it, because I watched it the other day, and as I said, it's very 80s. But I think that's the appeal of it. I think that's what people love about it, is the fact it's very 80s and it's very cheesy in ways, but it's a good little story. Yeah. The acting's good. It's just a nice little escapism. Yeah. I don't get why it was...
And I know why you say... I know you say, obviously, there's some cheesy lines, but I think some of it's actually genuinely funny as well. You watch it, you think, it's quite funny how they do that.
But also, that was a very thing of its time as well. A lot of films done that in the 80s.
But this won Golden Raspberry Awards for, like, worst... They're the opposite of the Oscars. Right. They give worst performance, stuff like that. It joint worst picture with... it was tied with Under the Cherry Moon, which was Prince's film. Prince's follow-up to Purple Rain, which bombed terribly. That's a similar rating, I think, on IMDb to this. Very low. It won Worst Screenplay, which again I think is harsh, because the screenplay is not that bad. There's nothing. In fact, I'd say it's a good screenplay. I like that it didn't follow the normal formula, because at first you thought, it's just all trivial stuff for him getting a job, working in that place. Yeah. Again, which is what would put loads of parents at. They've gone into like some sex place. There's people getting at it in the hot tub, and he's in there. And then all of a sudden, there's actual genuine drama, like with him racing about, and it had that great sort of chase with the biplane. Yeah. You know, which I thought was really well done. So I think it's harsh to give it worst screenplay, worst new star, which would have been for, I imagine, Ed Gale, which again harsh, because he's just doing a part in the costume.
How do you know it was him that leaves worst new star? Is that what he said? Yeah. Because you don't even see him, so how can they blame him for the... Because he's a multitude of people's jobs, is Howard. It ain't just one person responsible for Howard the Duck.
But I think it's like more of a satirical poke at these things. You're so crap, you're going to get worse, whatever, you know.
Do you remember as well...
Let me just finish. And worse visual effects, which again I don't think is justified. No. I think there's a few bits which look ropey now, But loads of it, especially when you use in-camera stuff, practical stuff, it actually looks quite well.
Yeah, did you remember when we had this on video? I think there was a bit cut out of it because it's only after later in years I remember seeing it. It's the bit with his tongue goes into the cigarette lighter.
Yeah.
That wasn't in our version of it when we were younger.
I always remember
that. No, that came... I think we got that version after. I think the original version of that, for some reason, I don't know if it was because it was the UK version or something,
Yeah.
there was... That bit was cut out. Because I didn't see that bit in the very first...
I've always remembered
version of it. No, but I remembered it obviously because later on I see that bit. But I know the very first time I see that film, that bit wasn't in it because I remember that bit when I did see that bit, if you know what I mean. So it's like I've noticed because obviously I wouldn't have noticed that before, but that bit was cut. That bit was cut, and I don't think it was cut for any other reason. Maybe just stopping kids sticking their tongues on cigarette lighters. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, the score is composed mainly by John Barry, who's famous for the James Bond theme tune. He done Dances with Wolves, Chaplin, The Scarlet Letter. So he's well renowned.
He's done quite well.
Oh yeah, he's good. He's very good. He's actually though, as I said, with this in particular, the "You're the Duckiest" tune, which I want played at my funeral. He's, I think it's a shame that more people haven't heard of this. People who like classical music don't listen to this album. They automatically just dismiss it, thinking, oh, it's probably some pop album. But it's only the first half is pop, the second half is classical.
With watching it again, it was. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it inside out because I think I must have watched it so many times when I was a kid. But
see, Howard the Duck in the comics is quite raunchy character. It could almost be like in a Viz comic. He was always he's always getting drunk and stuff like this.
You said he was a Marvel character.
He is.
He's
in
like
Marvel
a
comics.
superhero.
Yeah, he's in Marvel comics.
Right, okay.
He was originally introduced as a background character in a comic, but they basically had where these characters from random worlds, and he was in it. Readers really liked the character, and they killed him off a few things later. He falls into an abyss, and there was such a backlash where people wanted him. They ended up giving him his own comic book. But yeah, this is all connected to the Marvel universe. But amongst the fan letters included someone has sent bones of a dead duck.
Why?
Because fruitcakes. They just thought, oh, that will prove you how much I like Howard the Duck. And you think, that's a bit odd. And the original comic, it was more similar to Deadpool. Howard the Duck should have the kind of humour you'd find in like an American Pie film, basically. So people, obviously, and parents go, oh, I was going to show this to my 8-year-old, and he's asking me, what's that? She's just pulled out of his wallet, which they often cut out, the condom.
Oh yeah. Tim Robbins actually reckons that a lot of the problem for the success of this film is because of the costume of Howard the Duck. I think he reckons that they should have done it different. They should have made it more street looking, more sort of like more
like a duck.
It looks too cuddly, and he looked too like a little toy.
Yeah.
Where they should have made it look more, which I can see where he's coming from, because you could have sort of given it the edge, make it look a little bit less cute.
Well, in the comics, he was originally looks more like Donald Duck. So much in fact, Marvel and Disney and Marvel, which of course now Disney owns Marvel, but back then they didn't. Disney and Marvel were going to had a lawsuit about it. They said he looks too much like Donald Duck because he only had like a top half jacket on. He had a similar colour scheme. He was like Donald Duck, but he's always got a cigar in his mouth. So they made the thing he had to wear his trousers. So in the comics, after that, he always had to have trousers. Well, he's supposed to always have trousers on, so people don't mistake him for Donald Duck.
Yeah.
But about 2 issues in, he got rid of the trousers and burnt them. But Disney never pulled him up on it. So yeah, I guess people, if you'd known that, you'd think, want a big beak. So he's obviously a duck, not like a small beak like he's got in this. Well, I was thinking, you know what they could do? They could, if like just for those people to see how it floats, you could reissue the film, like digitally enhance it all, and put a CGI Howard the Duck over the original one. So it looks like a modern one, but like with like how it looks more like how he does in the comics.
Because I can imagine it looking more teenagey, more sort of street, sort of more slim, more streamlined. Sort of, I can sort of see where they're coming from, and if make it look a little bit more like not so cute and pretty looking, because he is like this little. He looks like Orville type of thing.
Yeah,
he is that kind of, and I think maybe it might have given it because that's a big thing. That you change that one thing might have made the whole film completely different. Because it would have been more. People would have been like they probably would have liked him more because they would have gone, oh, look, and he called that little duck. You know, look at Gremlins.
Yeah.
What they're like, you know, that kind of frame that they've got. Not as skinny as Gremlins, but that kind of more streamlined. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they've done him recently in Guardians of the Galaxy, and
Does he look like this, Howard?
no, he looks more like the comic one, and he's CGI and he's voiced by Seth Green.
Yes, but can you imagine how... he'd be good for the voice. He's brilliant for voices.
No, that's what he does. He does the voice for him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but he could... So could you see the one that you're talking about as the main character in this Howard the Duck?
Yeah. I think if they literally just got... I was going to say, they could use the Howard the Duck who they've established now, where he's wearing this little brown suit and he's sort of...
But then they'd just make the whole new film though, wouldn't they? They wouldn't...
Yeah,
they
but
wouldn't
I'm
do
saying
that.
they could do that at a fraction of the cost, put it on Disney Plus and see how it floats, and I reckon loads of people go, wow, it's made all the difference, because I can't honestly see anything else wrong with the film. I mean, even that, I didn't have a problem with the costume. I've just accepted it. As soon as I see the Duckworld and you see everyone looks like, you think, okay.
Do you think it's also to do with him as well? Actually, no, I don't think it's to do with him, that Jeffrey bloke.
No, because that was years later.
Because also Beetlejuice is still popular, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is still popular, so that hasn't affected them.
John Cusack and Martin Short also both auditioned to do Howard's voice, and they also asked Rob Paulson and Townsend Coleman. Now, you don't know who they are, but they, for me, when I was a kid, they were like big voices in cartoons. They were mainly from the Turtles for me.
Okay.
So Rob Paulson done Raphael's voice and Animaniacs and loads of other voices. Although even though there was what I said earlier about Robin Williams not doing it because he can't, because where he wanted to go on ad-libs, there's another story. I think this might have been Robin Williams who said this, or it might have been someone else saying it about Robin Williams, but apparently he was on set and the director went up and was really abusive to someone in front of him. He was like, what are you doing there? Go over there, and started shouting at them. And then Robin Williams went, is he always like that? He goes, oh, it's just how it is. He goes, you shouldn't be in environments like that. And he quit the film.
Yeah.
You know, he's not entirely sure what it was. Phoebe Cates also auditioned as Beverly. So did Tori Amos.
Tori Amos, what, the singer? Okay.
Well, you think about it, the role is a singer. So they probably thought, well, if Tori Amos can act, we'll give her the part, and maybe she couldn't, I don't know. They also considered Kim Basinger, Jodie Benson and Sarah Jessica Parker. Yeah.
They would have worked, I suppose.
And this was pretty much the first cinematic Marvel film. So this is why I said to you before, I think it's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And although I don't think they've really released one in the cinema until Blade in '98. When you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you can accept that he's in it.
Oh, I never knew that.
They was actually making another Howard the Duck at the same time. There was like arguments about the rights, and Stan Winston was making like Terminator and all these big massive visual effects things. He'd made a Howard the Duck costume, which by all accounts looks more like the duck. But then Lucasfilm then made them shut down because they said, no, we're making the film. And the film had been made for like $8 million at that point as well.
Okay.
But they got a cease and desist order on it.
Well, so it's a good film. It's a good film. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as dated as I expected it to be.
No, I don't think
when I rewatched it. It was just that little bit at the end with this, you could see with the CGI, but it's 86.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get what you mean.
It was good.
Whiplash! I'm gonna call my lawyer! Shut it down! What the hell's wrong with you? I want to see your license, Jack.
I have no license. I am not Jack.
But there was loads of special... I mean, if you look at Back to the Future special effects, that looks ropey.
Yeah.
There's loads of that. Even at the time, as a kid, I thought that looks a bit dodgy. That, like with the flames going through their legs.
Yeah.
You think...
But I don't think you notice it, do you? It's the same with this. I don't think you notice
No.
it. Because you're looking at it as a whole. I mean, we can pull anything apart from the 80s because them kind of special effects was all sort of newish.
Yeah, but as a kid watching it, you was totally roped in. You thought, this is so... But like watching Never-Ending Story, I bet if you watch Never-Ending Story now, you'd go, well, that's clearly a puppet and that's this. Yeah. But there's a time as a kid...
I loved it. I love Never-Ending Story.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one we've got to do at one point. I love Never-Ending
But there's so many great 80s... What I think...
Kids' films in the 80s.
Like Spielberg always had a bit of a golden touch with it, because anything that he was involved in, even as an executive producer, so something like Gremlins or Goonies, and what I liked about these kids' films, like Goonies, like this, like all those other films, is they don't patronise their audience. They don't talk down to kids. They don't sort of have the gangsters just sort of don't have real guns. Or they're like,
That's what I liked about John Hughes. I think John Hughes was quite the same, but for teenagers.
Yeah.
He could write a teenager really well, considering he was like in his 30s or whatever. Or I don't know how 20s he might have been, but he basically wrote what teenagers are thinking, and that's why people warms to his films, because it's like, oh my god, he can actually, that's how I feel. And so you can remember, because you forget how you feel when you're like 15, 16, but he sort of remembered it that well that he put it to paper, and it just shows that it's universal, and it never changes. It just the outlook changes because we all change, we're all different generations and stuff, but we've all got the same sort of going through the same things at the same times. Like, you know, when you're changing, your hormones all going all over the place, it's still the same thing, just different generations.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how you could do a film which is very sort of specific to a region. Say if you do something like Full Monty, so you think, oh well, surely only people from Sheffield during that time could like understand what they're going through. But no, it's a universal thing. This is why it done well out in America as well, because they look and go, I can relate to that. We've had our jobs on the line and this stuff.
What surprised me is when you told me Shirley Valentine was massive over there. Yeah. In America. It was on Broadway.
And I think it's the same thing. People look and think, I feel like that. I feel like I'm in a loveless marriage, that I just want to break out, and I'm watching someone doing it. I'm watching the consequences so I can make my own judgment from this.
And also because her accent is very, especially in America, I would have thought they wouldn't have been, she's not like typical English, what the Americans like to think that most English people sound like the royal family sort of kind of English, or Hugh Grant. Whereas she's from Liverpool. Yeah. So her accent is quite hard, and for her to be the main character on Broadway, it's like, wow, that's like, that says a lot. Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. So, I enjoyed it. I knew you was going to do this because you said you're going to do all the posters on your wall.
Yeah, but I didn't want to race through it. So there's quite a few of them I've done now for my wall. So there's Adventures in Babysitting, Howard the Duck,
Trading Places,
and RoboCop. So it's 4. I've got 10 posters on my wall, and I've done 4 of them.
Is that what you've done 4?
Yeah. I mean, them posters, it's not necessarily because they're my favourite films, but it's because I like them posters. Yeah. You know, my favourite film is American Wife in London, but there wasn't an American Wife in London poster that I particularly bothered about. It's like, I love...
Do you like the cartoony one, but you know, like... where she's jumping up and the wolf...
The Japanese one, the anime one.
The wolf has got his nose up her skirt, and she's sort of like... jumping in the air. That is...
No, I didn't think...
Makes it look like a carry-on film.
Yeah, and also, even though I didn't have a problem with it, I'm not that bothered about that picture. No, I wouldn't have it as a poster. Crap. So sometimes there's a great poster to, like, a good film. Yeah. And I think I'd rather have that, like the Trading Places poster. Yeah. I look for that specific one because I thought I like the artwork. I think it's clever poster.
Yeah, sometimes you could really love a film, but there's not a poster that's good enough that you feel that it doesn't do it justice.
Even the RoboCop one, I really wanted a RoboCop poster, but I knew that cover so much of him standing out the car. It's quite an iconic picture. I was thinking I was going to get the Japanese one just so I have Japanese written RoboCop, which you could get. I thought just to make it slightly different. Yeah. But in the end, I didn't. I got the normal one, and you know, to this day, I thought I should have just stuck with my guns. I should have got the more obscure Japanese one, just to make it a bit different. Because I just don't think it's as good a poster as, say, the Big Trouble in Little China. That Howard the Duck poster I've got, which isn't the one which most people see, which is that
one up there, isn't it? That I've got.
Yeah, the normal one people used to see, and they had a huge billboard of it out in America where the film came out. A 3D one with the beak sticking out. Yeah. It's just a big egg with his beak and feet sticking out. Whereas the one I like is the one where he's sitting on a little chair with holding up the magazine, which has got Lea Thompson on it on the front cover. Yeah. And you just see the top of his head. And that was quite a hard poster to get hold of.
I've got that up there somewhere as well.
Right, yeah, so that was Howard the Duck. And so don't necessarily, if you haven't seen the film, don't necessarily listen to what everyone else has to say about it. If maybe we've said something you think, yeah, I've noticed that with 80s films, you know, I like that kind of theme, give it a chance.
Yeah, I like it, and I don't think it is deserving of the criticisms that it gets.
And even if you're not going to watch the film, so there's no way I'm going to watch the film, at least check out some of the score, in particular You're the Duckiest, but any of the John Barry score from it, I think it's really good as well.
Okay, cool.
So Ben, what film are you going to pick for next week?
Right, something a little bit light-hearted from the 70s. I was thinking Bugsy Malone.
Oh, nice, yeah. We
A
haven't
nice
done
musical.
for a while. Yeah. Yeah, I love Bugsy Malone.
And that's a good film. It's a good all-rounder.
Which again is one of those films you think, would I go and watch it now? If someone said, look at this film coming out next week, it's a musical.
With loads of
little
kids. Yeah.
Oh no, first of all, there's this gangster film coming out next week. Yeah, I'll come watch it. Bugsy Malone, what's it like? Well, every part's played by kids. Straight away, I'll be out. I go, no.
But it's brilliant.
It's brilliant.
It couldn't. I don't think it would have worked if they'd all been adults.
No, definitely not. I don't think so. I don't think it would. I mean, really, it shouldn't work, but it does.
It's one of them things like Rocky Horror Show. It's like Annie. It's like there's certain films that just work because it's just
despite themselves.
Yeah. Not Annie, like Rocky Horror Show and other films like Rocky Horror Show. You know, like sort of like weird films.
Musicals, we're talking.
Yeah, anything that you just think, but that shouldn't work, but it does. Same as like Bugsy Malone. It's like you wouldn't think that would work because on paper, how's that going to keep people entertained?
Well, even Grease,
brilliant.
Something like Grease, you think, right, musical about all this old 50s style singing and dancing. You think at the time, the 70s was really hardcore, sort of Taxi Driver and Exorcist and Deer Hunter, all this, Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon, all this like gritty French Connection kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden Grease, this big swinging like kids singing, and you think that's not going to work.
But it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Songs are fantastic. It's a good cast.
Yeah.
So Bugsy Malone next week.
Brilliant. Okay.
All right then.
Okay, so go watch Bugsy Malone, and then you know what we're talking about next week.
All right.
All right. Bye bye.
See ya. Bye bye.
What am I gonna do with you, Ducky?
That's not that.